I'm curious, when you talked about the failure and whatnot, I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that, because at some point, what do we do about kids who are just constantly failing, or kids who don't engage in any failure? So like either end of that spectrum, like how do you find that nice balance between failure and success?
That's what comes in time. And I think that's where teachers who, do PBL in their classroom or any other similar pedagogy, they don't know how to react to that. They don't know how to engage the student that wants to do everything by themselves and doesn't want any help, or the student that is trying, but then, is just not finding what's going on. And so I would say, one, I've seen a lot of success when teachers enlist other students as the advocates and creating that social dynamic within the classroom that, they can find a friend and they can find someone that will help them and help the teacher and help the student that may be disengaged, or may help the student that is not engaging in the level that they would want. I would preface that with the disclaimer that you don't want to do the age-old like, oh yeah, well the student can just teach everything, or let me put all of this this weight and burden on the student,
Right.
Because I think that's setting up a different thing. I'm wary of that just because then you're kind of robbing that student that you're wanting to enlist as an advocate of their education and their experience by doing that. And so there's a fine line there, but I think a lot of social interaction, social dynamic is how you set it up. So the last school I taught at was a private school, and there was a lot of students that were on the overachieving side of the spectrum. And what made the best impact is when they were isolated from peers. It was like their own mental block of saying, oh, okay, I can fail. It's okay. And this is how I can fail. And this is how I can fail and not look like I'm a failure. Like, I think a lot of that is the perception, and it's within that community. And so, like, within the community of higher achieving students or overachieving students, I can say that from being one of like, yeah, I don't want people to know that I fail or didn't do everything perfect the first time. And so I think having that in isolation is best, and creating those times in which, students can come back for extra help, but then allowing them to see, that it's okay that your program didn't output what you wanted it to on the first go round. I would also say, and research supports this, that's a more common trend in female students, girls and women students, as opposed to males, because of the mentality of, boys can go and get hurt and dirty. And I'm referencing the TED Talk from the founder of Girls Who Code. Is that correct?
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so.
And so about being brave and encouraging women and girl students to be brave and fail and learn from it. I think setting up those opportunities for social interactions and having advocates between students, and then also in isolation for those overachieving students.
This excerpt is from podcast number 23 of the CSK8 podcast, which is titled Project-Based Learning in Computer Science with Justin Cannady. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app.